I'd like to welcome everyone to the 47th Invitational Final. Let's give a round of applause for all the boys. The most days that this house would offer prisoners serving life sentence, the option. And without further ado, Alex to begin the debate.
Sorry, forgot that. Mine was a genuine mistake.
Okay, I'll just start. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, today the prison system treats prisoners of life sentence like animals. Their right to dignity and humanity is lost. And we believe that as technology progresses, we have the means to reverse that, to give them back their basic rights to dignity. So we, as Team Side Proposition, believe that when you live a nightmare, you should be allowed to lucid dream. So I'm going to analyze, first of all, how this enhances the roles of the legal system. Secondly, how this ameliorates jail conditions. And thirdly, my partner Ariada is going to analyze to you how this helps in medical research and society as a whole. But before I do that, let's try and define the motion here before us today. So first of all, by life sentence, we mean that of course, the particular person has gone through trial and has been convicted based on every legal system of each country for a life sentence. In certain countries, such as Norway, that is 20 to 25 years. In other countries, there's a multiplier effect. So again, it's going to be according to every particular legal system. In terms of lucid dreaming, ladies and gentlemen, it is the ability to dream while in a conscious state where the person, the prisoner in this case, is aware and in control of himself and his environment. So, of course, the model that we're proposing is that the prisoner is going to be able to lucid dream given the fact that he has been complying with prison regulations, right? We think that there should not be disorderly conduct and it's not going to be given to everyone since it is a benefit, ladies and gentlemen, to these prisoners. So we think that it has to be done according to prison regulations. So, of course, it has to be consensual. They have to be told of the possible harms and have to be completely aware of the possible consequences of lucid dreaming, because it has to be consensual, or else it just violates their own rights, right? So, and it's going to be monitored by scientists, of course, who are aware and have used this method of lucid dreaming. So, having defined this motion, let me move in really quickly to my first argument, the role of punishment, right? So, punishment in terms of prison has particular functions. First of all, rehabilitation. Secondly, deterrence. And thirdly, protection. All of these fill in the idea of punishment. So in terms of rehabilitation, on a vague general thing, it's to prepare the citizen, the particular prisoner, for return to society. Deterrence is for that person not to act in a criminal way again, and to protect again is to take away from society to protect them in the restriction of rights. So I'm going to show you how this measure of lucid dreaming not only serves these roles of punishment, but enhances them, right? So let's go into, so how does this measure serve these rules? So on the first level, in terms of rehabilitation, this option of dreaming acts as an incentive for that person to act better and be prepared to re-enter society if that option has been given to him or her. Please sit down, Jason. So why is that? Because when you're in jail for years, it's very logical for that person to dream about reality, right? It's very logical to reconstruct the life before he was put in prison for such a long time. And we think that's really important, because that is how that person will construct, please sit down, Chloe, you can construct your own past reality. And since this creation within this lucid dreaming can act as an incentive and a way to help rehabilitation, for that person to be ready to re-enter society without criminal intent. Please sit down, sir. So, please sit down, Aguilar. So in terms of deterrence, you're also deterring the person from future harmful activities. Again, because it acts as an incentive to replicate and reconstruct your ideal life. There's no longer that idea that the state is merely locking him up and disregarding him as a member of society. We're finally giving an incentive. In terms of protection, of course, that person is still away from other members of society and is still being kept away. Please sit down, sir. So not only does it serve the three basic roles and goals of punishment, but we have to question, why is this escape justified, right? We think that, sorry, 1 second, let me get my other paper. Okay, so we think that in terms of punishment, we do restrict particular rights as a part of punishment, whether or not it's the right to, oh no, as a right to free movement and the right to the freedom of choice in order to protect society. But as technology develops, we have the power to allow people to exercise rights previously revoked in this state of lucid dreaming, right? Please sit down, sir. And in this case, it is upholding human dignity. It is allowing prisoners to make some choices, not all, but to give them some essence of control of that life, which has no control whatsoever. Please sit down, both of you. This has already been done in Norway and Finland, not in the way of lucid dreaming, but basically by giving them cells which can resemble basic apartments and homes. We think that that does really help the situation in the long run. So we think that at the end of the day, it humanizes punishment, because when you're isolated from society for so many years, it creates so much emotional harm and distance that person gets angry towards society and the state, right? So we think that finally, and it also creates a difficulty to accept society and re-enter it. So we think that finally, by giving this idea of reality, please sit down, sir, we're giving a bit of control, that was out of order. And so we want to give a bit of control back to that person, because it'll benefit him in terms of rehabilitation, deterrence, while also upholding the very basic role of the state, which is to uphold dignity. So really quickly, in the next 30 seconds, let me go on to my second argument, the benefits of the prison system. Okay. So, violent criminals, when they're placed in this terrible situation, tend to become more violent or mostly just predisposed against the state. We see that, for example, when we put a small petty criminal and a violent criminal, we see that many times they tend to commit further crimes when they are released, right? So we think that this is the same with the people in this nightmarish situation, right? We think that now that we can restore order in this situation, we can finally allow rehabilitation to be served even more while restoring order as it acts as an incentive for the prisoners. So ladies and gentlemen, because let me get my case line. Because when you're living in a nightmare situation, we think it is more than logical and allowed to lucid dream. Thank you.
I'll Facebook you.
Who is timekeeping, isn't it? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin my speech with in a similar way, like Alex. We believe that this measure is most dehumanizing towards these individuals, and mainly because it is immoral to give these people the opportunity to escape from their punishment, but at the same time give them fake hope that this is going to actually benefit this situation. So, and because we want to stick to reality, we beg to oppose this motion. So, in today's debate, we have come up with three main arguments. So, I'm going to talk to you about how this measure actually goes against the purpose of the incarceration process. And secondly, what are the economic costs to the society and how they are not, how these are unjustified. And my partner Angelos is going to talk to you about the impact that this measure is going to have on society. But before I do that, let me take a quick look on what has been brought up by Alex. So his first point was about the legal system and what are its functions. However, all we heard is actually him talking about rehabilitation. And what we answer this is, how is this measure actually helping people being rehabilitated? They are just giving them absolute freedom to a world which is really inexistent and whose rules do not actually apply to reality. So what kind of rehabilitation are we talking about? By the time all these principles that you want them to apply in reality, you allow them to apply in a fictional situation. We do not really get your point, Alex, there. So another answer that we have to this is, why should I give money for a person to behave better in prison? Forgive me about this seemingly arrogant point, but why do I care if a person who's not going to get out of prison most likely behaves better? Why do I have to spend my money and what I do, what I struggle for this person to behave better by the time that there's not going to be an actual effect on me at this point. We never heard an answer to this. And lastly, why give them rights if the punishment itself is all about depriving them of these rights? Essentially what you're doing is undermining the importance of the punishment and only has in its roles. No, thank you. And lastly, we didn't hear anything about how this ameliorates the living conditions. Sorry, there's nothing to rebut here. So let me talk to you about, yes, what is the purpose of punishment, ladies and gentlemen, which is my first argument. It's to restrict the freedoms of individuals, and this happens through the primary functions of the incarceration process, which are related to, restrict the freedoms, of course, which is punishment, retribution, which is actually ameliorating, making them feel those people who were actually harmed feel better, and at the same time, it acts as a deterrence. So, point A, punishment, B, deterrence, C, retribution. Let's talk about these things and how they act. Yes, Alex?
Well, you're talking about restricting rights, but what about the right to human dignity that you clearly have not answered, but to uphold some ethical standards?
I understand your point, Alex, but we didn't hear any explanation as to why these situations in prison are not dignified enough for you. All we heard is that there is a restriction in freedom, which is actually what the punishment is about, so we didn't really get, you didn't really, never really prove this point to us. So, let's just talk about the punishment, ladies and gentlemen, which is, you've pretty much helped me analyze my first point, which is how it actually undermines the process of punishment. If you actually give these people even this freedom, then what it's effectively doing is it gives them freedoms in a punishment that prevents them from acting like free people. So what you're actually doing is undermining the whole conviction and the whole legal process that was followed in order for this person to be punished. So let's talk about deterrence after that. So we understand that this measure actually makes the living conditions slightly better in the sense that yes, it gives an opportunity to these people to actually dream and have certain freedoms. But at the same time, doesn't this reduce the effect that this might have on future criminals? Meaning that if a person knows that yes, I can still behave the way I behave, but I will always have a last resort, which is going to be this, then isn't this actually acting against the point of deterrence? Why relaxing this punishment for no reason by the time it is already problematic and undermines the judicial system? And no, thank you, Alex. And lastly, about retribution, we believe that this is going to have a major impact on retribution in the sense that those who were influenced by these people actually will feel that punishment does not actually serve its original purpose, and there will be psychological harm to these people. So let me talk about the economic cost of the taxpayer, which to a large extent come from the moral, why this measure is morally unjustified. So we explained to you why it doesn't really make an effective difference, and the question that we ask is why should a third party, which actually hasn't got anything to do with this specific situation, be burdened for a small minority actually to live better by the time to live better and enjoy more benefits by the time that they're not actually in need of them as we saw previously. And let me give an example to you. In the United States, there have been complaints that the amount paid for prison is already very high. So essentially what you're doing is challenging the public opinion and actually giving room for people to reduce even this amount of money that is being spent by the time, and this, we believe that this is actually very arrogant on your side. So we believe that this is not economically sustainable as there are no resources either from the taxpayer or from the government at this point, and because of all the above reasons, we beg to oppose the motion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are side proposition, and this house would offer prisoners serving life sentences the option to lucid dream. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you live a nightmare, you should definitely be allowed to lucid dream. Now, what Alex has told you today so far in this debate is firstly, how our motion actually enhances the legal system, and secondly, how it ameliorates jail conditions, because people become more cohesive and they pay attention to the authority in jail. So we actually have an improvement of social standards there as well. Wow. Okay, so I will be discussing how this is actually going to improve medical research. But before I go into my constructed case, let's just take a look at what side opposition has brought to today's debate so far. So they came up and they told us that, well, what we're proposing goes against the rule of punishment and therefore the legal system, right? Because the point of the legal system, according to them, is to deprive criminals of their rights. Well, we say we still are depriving criminals of their rights. Their right to movement, their right to freedom of choice to an extent. But anyway, so essentially what we're doing is we're not giving them any extra human rights that we're not limiting their rights. They still are limited, and therefore they still are punished. And they're still punished because they don't get to go out into the real world and have contact with real people, right? So the lucid dreaming isn't a complete replica of the real world, but it does give them some insight, and this is why we think it's totally justifiable. We don't think that it's the role of the punishment and role of legal system to take away people's morality, to take away people's dignity. And why does actually under their motion, why do legal systems do exactly this? Why do legal systems take away morality and dignity? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we say that if you're spending 25 years of your life in jail without any contact with society or without any contact with social kind of structures, what happens is, with a lot of cases, people lose their sanity, right? And people lose essentially contact with society and what human nature is all about. So we think that this is actually driving people to extremes that we don't think we don't think the legal system is actually there for. We think it's there to punish them and not to drive them to extremes such as insanity, right, ladies and gentlemen? So this is actually how we think that what they're proposing is totally immoral, ladies and gentlemen. And they came up and told us that, well, it's immoral to escape reality because it gives them false hope. We say no, actually, it's a means in which they deal with their circumstances at the current time. It's a way that they say, you know what, I'm living a nightmare, but for a couple of moments, for a couple of minutes, I get to escape. And because, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot expect to put so much pressure on criminals. They are human beings at the end of the day, and they definitely do need some kind of escape. We don't want to drive people to insanity. No, thank you. And then they also told us about this false hope. But we actually think that in countries like Norway, where the life sentences are maximum 25 years, some people do get released back into society, right? So this isn't exactly false hope, ladies and gentlemen. And we think it's far more immoral to say you're not going to have any contact with any type of society ever again, rather than here's a couple of minutes of it because you behaved very well. No, thank you. So then they were very confused about our rehabilitation point. Well, again, we pointed to the example of Norway, how 25 years is maximum. So therefore, people will be released at some point in some cases. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we think it's completely irrational to expect people to act normally when they haven't had contact with society in 25 years, right? We think that the rehabilitation process becomes a lot more harsh for them and a lot harder for them to actually get used to. So we think it's good while in jail to have some sort of idea, to have some sort of contact with forms of society via lucid dreaming, because, ladies and gentlemen, we gave you the justification that people are nostalgic, so they will think about society and the way their lives were before. So actually what we think is this motion enhances rehabilitation because it gives people some sort of contact with society. Then they came up with this great point about why should we care, right? And the thing is that we think that of course we should care about all citizens, and it's the role of the state to care about all citizens. But we also say that because exactly so many of these people are released into society, they will be around you at some point, and you want them to be able to be rehabilitated, and you want them to feel safe around them. No, thank you. And then they came up with this point about economic costs and how we don't have the resources to do this. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, we say that when it's for a justified cause, raising taxpayers' money by like a slight proportion is actually totally justifiable, right? And we actually think that this could actually lead to economic benefits because of the medical research, which I'm going to discuss right now. So we think that we actually know as a fact that only for 4% of the human brain is actually used. And we think that lucid dreams could be, no thank you, could be the next way forward to recognizing the full potential of the human human mind, right? We don't think this is only true on a philosophical level of understanding the nature of consciousness, but we actually even think on a scientific level, and we're thinking about how exactly the brain works, right, ladies and gentlemen? And we think that the reason why prisoners, and in particular people with life sentence, are the perfect people to try this out on is because obviously, of course, if we have their full support and they are sure and they know that the outcomes may be unpredictable, we think that these people have very little to lose, right, ladies and gentlemen? So research on these people is kind of ideal. This is the people that we do want to have medical research tested on, right, ladies and gentlemen? And we think that actually what they're going to do is if we have the means to test our research, and if we allow these people to be a part of this process, we think that not only does it help medical research progress, but we also think we're contributing to society, and we're allowing these members to feel like they are contributing to society, that they're part of a process that is bigger than themselves, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we redefine the way people look at themselves, the way prisoners look at themselves. They don't feel so marginalized. Now they feel part of society, and now they feel important, now they feel needed. But we're also changing the society, the concepts and mentality that society views criminals with. Because now society says, wow, these people are actually helping. They recognize that outcomes are unpredictable, but yet they're putting themselves out there and they're actually willing to help medical research progress for all the benefits that it will bring to us as individuals. So ladies and gentlemen, exactly because this motion enhances the legal system, it actually leads to better jail conditions, and because it also provides progress for medical research, this side of the House begs you to propose the motion.
Thank you, Arietta. We now call Angelos to introduce the first article.
Ladies and gentlemen, the proposition has been trying to tell us that we should give prisoners a luxury with, I quote, unpredictable outcomes. We, on Team Opposition, are proud to oppose this motion, and we would not offer prisoners serving life imprisonment the option to lucid dreams, ladies and gentlemen. Because, as my partner analyzed, it goes against the purpose of incarceration, it has economic costs, and I'm going to talk to you about the impact on society this measure will bring. But before I do so and engage in my arguments, let me briefly take a look at what the opening government has come and said to us today. So, first of all, they talk about the right to dignity, ladies and gentlemen. But we believe that we are actually giving prisoners a luxury that even most citizens that have not committed a crime do not have access to. So we're actually giving prisoners something better than the citizens that have not committed a crime. And we do not find this justified. No, thank you, madam. And we do not find this is justified. What is more, they talk to us about giving prisoners an incentive to behave better, and that people lose their sanity when in prison. However, we believe that we're giving them a fake sense of freedom that will make them even more aggressive if actually they finish off with life imprisonment, the 25 years of life imprisonment, and get out of society as well. They will be dependent on the lucid dreams device, so that they are able to live. And they say that the prisoners are able to escape reality, and thus they will come in contact with society, which will facilitate rehabilitation. However, we do not agree, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that rehabilitation would be made even more difficult, because exactly they will be dependent on lucid dreams. So as to survive, they will live in a virtual reality that could not guarantee that they could become a normal member of society, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the big argument brought up by the second speaker of the proposition is that it will improve medical research, ladies and gentlemen. Well, before they talk to us about dignity, and now they're trying to tell us that we should test something on the prisoners. Well, we do not find this actually ensuring their dignity. We do not believe that it is humane to use them to try out experiments, because as you said in your, as it has previously been said, well, we do not want to treat them like animals. For this specific reason, we do not want to use them to try out experiments, ladies and gentlemen. And we believe that, well, no, they will not feel like they contribute to society. They will feel like they are exploited by society. Like society is trying to use them in an inhumane way, and actually be a threat to their dignity. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do not see that it has been proven to us why this measure is justified and effective. It seems apparent to us that the prisoners do not gain their right to dignity, and well, this is even more evident in their argument about medical research. No, thank you, sir. Well, now allow me to move on to my argument about the impact on society this measure will have. Well, we believe that it will cause a mentality shift for the worse, ladies and gentlemen, because if this measure is enforced, then we promote the idea of a virtual world against the real one, and we're actually sending the wrong message, ladies and gentlemen. We are actually saying that the government supports the virtual world, it promotes the virtual world. Well, we do not deny that this can help us. This can help us understand and think about how brain works, but still, it's actually encouraging people to live outside the limits of the real world. And therefore, we show that it's acceptable to live within a virtual society that leads to alienation of the people from each other, and which can prove detrimental for human relationships, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something we desire. Yes, please.
How exactly me being able to coordinate my dreams leads to diminishing the relationship with my girlfriend, for example?
Well, thank you very much. Now, to prove this point, I would like to make an analogy with the video games that have been proven to have the same effects, ladies and gentlemen. Because if they lead to the virtual reality, it is actually proven that when people get out of this reality, they are more aggressive and they do not value human relationships as such. So it is very clear that when you get into the virtual reality, you think that everyone is acting according to what you want. You're actually shaping the people's behavior, and this actually leads to a deterioration in the relationships between members of the society, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that this measure will have negative consequences on the society because we're promoting something that will have detrimental effects for the human relationships. What is more, in terms of the prisoners that the proposition has been trying to protect with unpredictable outcomes, well, we believe that they will be even more aggressive because they will be dependent on a machine to live. They will be in despair when they're not in lucid dreams. And ladies and gentlemen, if eventually these people get out of prison and they cannot afford lucid dreams, what will happen of them, ladies and gentlemen? How are they going to survive in this society that has completely alienated them? Even if they might be even more aggressive, and this will breed even more violence, ladies and gentlemen. So it is very clear that both in terms of the message being sent by us to society and in terms of the behavior of the prisoners, the impact on society is very negative, ladies and gentlemen. So to sum up opening opposition's case, we believe it is very clear that this measure goes against the purpose of the incarceration system. We believe that it is not economically sustainable, and we believe that it will have very negative consequences on the society later. And because we do not believe that right now there are inhumane conditions in prison, and we do not believe that by testing out and making experiments on them, we're improving the situation. This side of the House will stick to reality, and we beg to oppose this measure. Thank you.
Moving on to the second part, Maria Joy first presenting from Cyprus.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from the closing part of the government. And before I move on to my extension about why we should allow these people to dream and why dreaming is important, but also because it facilitates a means of research different than the one brought to us today from the second speaker of the government, I would like to engage myself in some rebuttal first. The side of the opposition told us that it undermines the purpose of punishment. But I want to ask them, and they did not explain to us, when the punishment is enough for you. These people have been waived their freedom, so should we take their life after that? Where do we actually stop? What we are telling you is that we stop where we are secure as a society, and we have also served justice, but at the same time, we have to offer this small amount of pleasure under this eternity of being closed in a prison to these people. So we actually propose to you a golden mean solution, a solution that facilitates both society, both the justice system, but at the other hand, the imprisoned person. Now, After that, you said that we will use taxpayers' money in order to give these people this benefit. But as I will explain in my extension, this will facilitate some very important research which will actually benefit society a lot more. Now, no thank you. The final point was that it's wrong to promote a virtual world. Well, I want to clarify something here, ladies and gentlemen. This kind of dreaming, lucid dreaming, is completely conscious. You understand by principle that you are consciously dreaming in a way. You're not putting a dream and someone's making you dream in a way or you do not understand what's happening. This is a principle. Lucid dreaming is about directing your conscious thoughts to specific things. If you want to dream of a pigeon outside the window, if you want to dream that you're playing with your children, we believe that it's a human right to give that right to these people. Now that moves me to the first part of my extension, which is the importance of dreaming. Ladies and gentlemen, no thank you. Prisoners convicted to life sentence, even if they have done something completely wrong and something awful, have still the right to dream under our, no thank you, under our thought. Prisoners are not people without rights. They do have the right to live, for example. We have not killed them yet. So these people are allowed to have some rights. They've been waived the right to freedom, but the thing is that here, we respect human rights, and we respect people in a way that we can emotionally help them feel better in circumstances that are not the best in any way, and especially when this happens without harming society in any way. And you might bring here the monetary thing as well, but we do not value in our hierarchy of values money more than giving these people the right to dream. And if you think of it in a much more practical way, because saying it this utopically might not convince you that much, we say that by having these people pleasant and happy in prisons, we will actually decrease suicide rates, we will not have bad prison behaviors that much, no thank you, we will not have all those psychological depression things, because we pay psychiatrists for that in prisons. When we go out there and we have basketballs and gyms in the prisons and we say, wow, how cool is that Switzerland prison, we pay from people's money. But what we actually don't want to do here is to give them this pleasure to dream consciously. So, now moving to my no thing. Oh, well, I can accept it. Yes, now I'm going to go to this point, which is not that we use these people such as guinea pigs for research. We use these people in a completely different way as it was brought up by the opening government. What we do is actually cooperate with these people. We allow them to tell us our dream. And by telling them our dream, they're actually telling us what they were dreaming out in that society before getting into prison. What they were dreaming and what the society, no thank you, failed to give them. What their family, what their surroundings failed to give them. And what led them actually to what they did and what was the reason that brought them to prison. So you understand that by dreaming in this way, we can take advantage of the past, but also of the future. And by taking advantage of the past, we can see how the society, how everything failed and these people were led there. And we can actually go back to the society and correct things through education, through other systems, through trying no thank you, to look at this from an anthropological and a sociological way of research in order to understand why these people are in there and in order to correct these things in the society. So what we are saying is actually that we give them the right to dream. We give them the right to dream because in our hierarchy of values, we value that these people still have some rights. Out of order. These people still have some rights. They have been deprived their freedom as a punishment and they have been led to prison. They have been society secured because they're not going to be out there. But at the same time, we're actually offering them better conditions that will help them decrease suicide rates, psychological depression and things like that, which if you actually take this out, you might make these people a bit more creative in prison. You might have special prison work programs. They could also create through literature, through writing books. How many prisoners have written books or have produced some pieces of art or something? There are many. So we can give them a whole other, more humanistic and more wonderful reality in there. And of course, we can enhance scientific research in the field of anthropology and sociology and see how actually, where it failed the society and led them to this position today in order to correct things. Thank you very much.
very difficult bit.
It is.
Can I tape my timer somewhere? Is it okay if I throw the papers off when I'm done with them? Because I have nowhere to...
It looks amazing on the video, this.
No?
Just do it.
Sorry, and... whatever.
Paper dogs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this side of the house would definitely not offer prisoners who are serving life sentence the option to lucid dream. Now, side government has already explained to you how this is not actually fulfill the role of a prison, which is basically punishment and rehabilitation. And secondly, the very negative socioeconomic aspect that will have on society and the prison, and we will explain how the effect they will actually have on the prisoner, which is completely counterproductive to this role of prison, ladies and gentlemen. But before I go on to explain this, I would like to remind us of a very bipolar proposition we have heard from today, ladies and gentlemen, who started out by loving prisoners and fighting for their dignity and rights, ladies and gentlemen, because they just love rights. But right after saying this, Arietta decided to say, well, we'll still be depriving them of rights, obviously. We'll just let them escape prison temporarily for a bit. Same thing, whatever. But because they're nostalgic, ladies and gentlemen, that was what proposition cares about. Nostalgic prisoners. Okay, then if they're very nostalgic, then we should let them remember. No, thank you. Then we should help them remember what it feels like to stab someone if they're so nostalgic of that memory, ladies and gentlemen. But suddenly, no, we should research on them, ladies and gentlemen. We should research on these rightful, dignified, nostalgic prisoners. We want side proposition to decide, ladies and gentlemen, are prisoners serving life sentence rightful members of society who need their dignity, or lab rats? No. They went on after, in the third speech, they went right back to loving them and respecting them, ladies and gentlemen, confusing us once again by saying that they should talk to us, no thank you, about their dream. Because obviously the third speaker of side proposition thinks that prison is just a big, great, giant therapist, no thank you. Which is not what we see it as. We have already explained to you the role of the prison, and if you have not realized it, we'll continue to explain, dear side proposition. It is there to rehabilitate and punish, and not to remind them of the crimes that they want to dream of, ladies and gentlemen, in the most obvious and intense way. No, thank you, ma'am. So, to move on with our case, ladies and gentlemen, the effect that it will have on the prisoner which is there to be punished, and this is not punishing them, as we already explained, by allowing them to live whatever sick fantasy they want and allowing them to mentally escape prison for a period of time, ladies and gentlemen. No, thank you, sir. Since it is giving them back the freedom that they legally lost and the life that they chose to abandon by committing such a tragic crime, a crime that can actually get you life sentence, ladies and gentlemen, which isn't robbing a supermarket. No, thank you. So, since side opposition has always explained that it is not punishment, we want to explain how it is not actually changing their mentality, which is the main part of our case, ladies and gentlemen, how it is actually affecting the prisoner in the counterproductive way of what the prison was aiming to do in the first place. Since its role is to rehabilitate them by stopping these thoughts that they had earlier, Alex does really want them to relive their life, as they said, the life that they had before prison. Let's think what life someone had before getting life sentence. Who gets life sentence, ladies and gentlemen? Or let's see, a serial killer, someone who raped a lot of girls, a cannibal, I don't know. Do we really want these people to remember doing these things? Is this really a way to rehabilitate them, ladies and gentlemen, by reliving their former life, as side proposition wants? No, thank you. What could... Oh yeah, we are supposed to take them away from the actions that got them there and not remind them of them. Don't you agree, sir?
Do you take away punishment, or do you punish to take away sanity?
No, that's what we are saying, that what we are doing by rehabilitating them in prison is giving them back their sanity. What you are doing is reminding them in the most obvious way of the days where they did not have that sanity so well, obviously to go around killing people, and we do not want to remind them of that train of thought that they had then, which is exactly what I will explain now, that we're actually helping them by not doing this motion, helping them keep
their sanity, ladies and gentlemen, because what this proposition wants to do is put them back in the environment, no, thank you, ma'am, and the state of mind in which they were when they were committing such a tragic crime, a crime that gets you life sentence, ladies and gentlemen. We are letting them possibly relive raping that little girl, possibly relive all their fun murders, ladies and gentlemen, because this was their former life. We can't deny that. And this is against and counterproductive to the point of rehabilitation, since we are not helping them realize how reality and law works, ladies and gentlemen. This is allowing them to get as far from reality as possible. And the whole point is to help them realize that in this world, realistically and logically, you're not supposed to kill someone, ladies and gentlemen. This is reality, and what you're doing is letting them escape the reality and not actually understanding, like they should, how the justice system works and what happens when you commit a crime, ladies and gentlemen. It is the prison's duty to change that mentality which they had before, that false and disturbed mentality, ladies and gentlemen, and not let them travel to their own happy world of murder again, where these laws were not enforced yet, ladies and gentlemen. We see that they are psychologically affecting them in the opposite way of what we should, and reminding them of this life before prison, which is exactly the life we want to avoid reminding them of, ladies and gentlemen. Any rehabilitation which will have happened up to that point will be completely pointless, because you will be erasing it by reminding them exactly how much they love the taste of blood, ladies and gentlemen. And by reminding them of this, you're completely erasing all the rehabilitation, everything that worked for, ladies and gentlemen, everything a prison had worked for, by fulfilling the role that it actually has. Lucid dreaming, ladies and gentlemen, it's very realistic. It's not a dream. You feel like you're there. You relive that moment, ladies and gentlemen. We do not want them to relive such a moment, to remember that need they had to kill, ladies and gentlemen. We do not want to remind them of that previous life, ladies and gentlemen. So because this actually doesn't fulfill the role of the prison to punish and rehabilitate, and actually affects the prisoners in a worse way, because it is socioeconomically a failure as a motion, we believe that our milkshake has brought justice to this motion, ladies and gentlemen, and has brought logic to this debate, so we beg you to oppose.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I ever get lifetime convicted, and chances may be high in the future, I definitely will be lucid dreaming of attending debate finals constantly. But it is surely that I will never get the actual feeling of winning one. Having said that, let me summarize this whole debate in 3 main questions. So we've been talking a lot, firstly, about the purpose of prison. Then we talked about the consequences of this lucid dreaming. And finally, we talked about the effects that the lucid dreaming will have, the option of lucid dreaming will have on the actual prisoners. So let's take the first question. What is the purpose of the prison? The opening opposition came up here today and told us everything they know about the legal system and about the prison. They told us about the freedom that is being drawn away from them, about retribution, the rehabilitation and the punishment, and how all these things actually occur, and how falsely we see reality, and that we must be feeling awful with ourselves, that we see them from the side of the government with dignity and morality. Of course we see them with dignity and morality, because they must be really confused if they see only the prisoners as they occur in this particular country, and not how prisoners sometimes exist outside of this country, to witness exactly how we should still value through dignity and through morality this particular life of the prisoners. So what is the purpose of the prison again? Is it only about the rehabilitation and the punishment that they keep talking and talking again? And remember that we're talking about convicts that are sentenced to lifetime in prison. So no, it's not only about that. From the side of the government, we understand that there's something more. And we understand that not only all the purposes are being fulfilled, we understand that they have some more things that we must care about, such as dignity and morality. Then we move on to the consequence of lucid dreaming. They say that, you know what, the consequence is through the economic perspective and not economical sustainable plan. And then from the side of the opposition, they also said that the impact on the society will be firstly to diminish the relationship with everyone, and secondly that they will make them more aggressive. Of course, we cannot accept such things, because we cannot accept that this is not economically sustainable. As Maria Zoe already told you, there are other things that we invest in prisons. There's no debate around here about that particular thing. So we don't actually see how a penny, for example, for each taxpayer is actually a not economical sustainable thing. And also about the impact on the society, that it diminishes relationships and it becomes aggressive. Let us have in mind that we're talking about conscious dreaming. We're not talking about escaping to a virtual world and living there for months, thinking about your next crime right after the 25 years are over, that you're back to the society, killing whoever was responsible for sending you to prison. We're talking just about conscious dreaming. And on the consequences side, it was the medical research from the opening government side that said that, you know what, this changes the mentality of the society to the criminals, because they see them as some people that actually give something back to the society. And also the criminals see the society as something that they're actually benefiting through their lifetime in the prison. No, thank you. So, if we balance the consequences right here, there's a definite win for the part of the government, because the medical research and the advantages of the medical research, the possible advantages of the medical research, clearly overweigh the possible non-economical sustainable plan and the diminishing of the relationships and the aggressiveness. But ladies and gentlemen, it comes down to the effect on the prisoner, because we are talking about the prisoner that will undergo the lucid dream. And from what they said is that, from the third speaker at least, what we got, is that, you know what, the mentality won't change. They will possibly relive again and again the time that they were raping 18 little children, and they won't change anything. But who told you that they will want to relive that particular moment? For some of them, it might be the most disturbing moment of their entire life. Not everyone that is being convicted for a lifetime sentence is the type of the lunatic that keeps reliving and reliving and reliving that particular moment. It's about conscious dreaming. They have the option to just do swimming in the sea and having a look at the sun. I mean, you're in the prison for 25 years, and all you can come up with when you're consciously dreaming for the side of the opposition is that you relive the particular moment that sent you in the prison. This is not entirely what we think of. What we believe instead is what Maria Zoe told you, is about the right to dream. And we have to analyze that, we have to understand that this particular right to dream is really important for these people. And they're not going to actually re-kill and re-rape on their conscious dreaming, but they might actually build on something in their mind. They might actually find a way to drift off the particular reality that they live. And also about the research, from the other perspective of the research about the prisoner, that can actually give us more information on what brought the prisoner up there and what can we do about them after they leave the prison. So you do realize, ladies and gentlemen, that the purpose of the prison is fulfilled, and is fulfilled with dignity and morality, that the consequences of lucid dreaming overbalance our side from the side of the opposition. And finally, we should not neglect the importance of the right to dream. And for all these reasons, we are proudly proposing today's motion.
Last speaker of this final Jason to offer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of this House, today we have a proposition that speaks to us about dignity, yet they want to make all their prisoners into lab rats. We have an opposition that wants to rehabilitate these criminals by letting them lucid dream, all under the assumption that a serial rapist, under the example that was given to us by the last speaker that has raped 18 girls, will not want to relive this. Because we say that when you are a prisoner and you have committed serial crimes, ladies and gentlemen, you will want to relive these, because we see that if you do it once, and you do it again, and you do it another 17 times, ladies and gentlemen, what is exactly stopping you from reliving that moment within the dream? And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that this debate has boiled down to one milkshake with two flavors. First of all, is the whole point of punishment undermined, to which we say yes, and secondly, are you actually rehabilitating the criminals with life sentences by allowing them to lucid dream, to which we say no. So, let's talk about the first flavor of the milkshake. So we see firstly, ladies and gentlemen, that this whole idea of punishment is to actually be punished, not to allow you to have this escape from your prison cell. We see that at the end of the day, this is what was pointed out by opening opposition, where they talked to us about undermining the whole legal system, and we see that we cannot simply undermine this legal system merely to experiment on people, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot undermine this whole idea of punishing people for committing serious crimes and giving them life sentences, and then allow them to have this escape from their punishment, ladies and gentlemen. We see that at the end of the day, if you do provide them with this escape, what happens is you are essentially undermining the whole idea of punishment, because we really receive no clarity on the amount that people will be allowed to lucid dream. Because for all I know, ladies and gentlemen, if I am convicted of killing 13 girls, then what's stopping me from just reliving this moment as much as I want? Because we really didn't hear anything about, is there any limit to how much I can lucid dream, ladies and gentlemen. So we see that at the end of the day, having this in mind, the fact that you're supposed to be punished, but you're not really being punished because you can escape reality, and even if you want to go to the beach and see the sun and all these lovely birds outside, ladies and gentlemen, how are you being punished by having these nice images in your head and having these conscious decisions being made when you are supposed to be in prison for the reasons that you committed a crime, and yet we're letting you go out into the outside world indirectly to relive your lovely older days and moments? Yes, madam. No, we don't. If they have killed many people, and if they have raped 10-year-old girls, then we believe that these are the monsters of society, and they should be kept away from the rest of society. And this is the whole point of having a legal system in the first place, to remove those that harm our society and put them in a jail cell to help them, and also to help our society. No, thank you, madam. Therefore, we should not give them the option to lucid dream, because we do not wish to undermine this whole legal system and this whole idea of you are in jail because you did something bad. Which leads me on to my second question and my second flavor, which is, are you rehabilitating criminals? Are you rehabilitating criminals with life sentences by allowing them to lucid dream? To which we say no. We do not understand how giving criminals the chance to relive these crimes is actually helping them rethink what they did. What we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you have 25 years in prison, your life sentence, and you are allowed to relive this moment, what exactly are you achieving? What exactly is being achieved in your jail cell if you can just go over the crime you committed over and over again? We do not see a way that a prisoner can think about the situation he's in and what he's done badly if he's allowed to relive these moments. We do not think that he will be an effective member of society if he is allowed to go see the beach in his dream, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, he still committed these crimes, didn't he? He was still put in prison because he committed atrocities, ladies and gentlemen, and because we really do not want our prisons to become some sort of lucid dreaming funhouse, but a center for thought, ladies and gentlemen, and rehabilitation. What we say is that we should not provide such an option to prisoners that have committed crimes in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. So why exactly should we provide them with a form of pleasure when they are supposed to be away from society, when they are supposed to be in a cell to suffer and to think, ladies and gentlemen? And we see that at the end of the day, if you want sane prisoners and not insane prisoners that don't think about the beach all the time, and you have prisoners that think about what they actually did wrong, this is where you achieve rehabilitation, as Chloe very nicely explained to you in her speech. So, ladies and gentlemen, overall, we cannot support the option of giving them the option to lucid dream. We cannot support something that provides an escape when you are supposed to be kept away. We cannot support something that undermines justice, and we cannot support something that is a regressive measure and does not produce the citizens that you want to under your motion. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for this very interesting debate.